All right, welcome to the district climate meeting. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Do we have any public comment in person? I don't think so. Online?
No attendees.
All right.
Around the room, so.
Oh, good point. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. We'll start at this side this time.
Hi, Peter Finch, math teacher at Coggins-Shog High School.
Thank you.
I'm Jade Adelbert. I'm the Director of Prevention Programs at Durham Middlefield Youth and Family Services.
Thank you.
Jamie Rohrbeck, Board of Ed.
Sydney Leggett, Superintendent.
Board of Ed.
Linda Darcy, Board of Ed.
Lucy Petrella, Board of Ed. Jen Keene, Director of Student Services and Special Ed. Jennifer Almodovar, parent of 2 high schoolers.
Thank you very much. All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, number 4.
We're really excited to have Jade here. Unfortunately, Claudia is sick tonight from DMYFS, but I asked them to be here tonight. Hopefully everybody had a chance to watch the video ahead of time. We're incredibly thankful for our partnership with DMYFS, and I think we can never really grapple all that you're doing in partnership with the school district, and we're really thankful for that. But I was hoping that you could speak to the video and maybe answer any questions the committee had about the things that rose up from the survey and some of the approaches that we're taking.
Yeah. So if everyone saw the video, we every couple of years, we do a youth survey about topics around mental health and prevention, substance use, basically risk factors and protective factors. Normally we do it every other year, but there was a kind of a bit of a break because of some staffing issues on our side. So we did it last year. So there was a 3-year gap between last year's and the year before, or the last time that we did it. So basically the way that the survey is conducted, it takes place during advisory. It is from 7th to 12th graders. Those are the kids that are taking taking the survey. We were talking about AT tests. Now I'm like AP testing. And so there's a couple of things that arose that were really, what is that called? Like
A flag.
yeah, kind of like, yeah, definitely a flag. So we saw there's quite a lot of mental health issues in our community, particularly around depression and anxiety. And then we always, when we kind of talk about that, we also talk about suicide because although they don't lead to each other, it's still really important. And a lot of the questions that we ask around suicide and depression are kind of in one section of that survey. This year we had more, I think this year we asked about disordered eating. So I'm also a licensed therapist. And so when we were talking about what we wanted to add on to this survey, I was like, well, I think we should talk about disordered eating because that's very prevalent in youth in general. And I want to know how prevalent is it in our community. Turns out it's very prevalent in our community. I want to say it's like something like 22% of high schoolers engage in disordered eating behavior. And if you saw in the video, it gives like a list of different activities. So it's not just starving yourself and it's not just throwing up. They also asked about like dieting and laxative use and all that kind of stuff. So disordered eating was a big thing. Healthy and unhealthy relationships was also an area that we saw some concern, and like namely around bullying and then unsafe romantic relationships as well. Drug use and alcohol use, that's always going to be something that is going to be on our list of focus areas. And our focus areas are developed from what comes out of this survey. So alcohol use and marijuana use was another one. I think the most jarring statistic or whatever, I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my head. I wish I would have, I don't know, if you know me, you know that I know a lot of things, but I never bring any of the things that I know that I need to bring. And so of course I didn't bring the things that I needed. But the biggest thing for alcohol and cannabis use was that basically the kids don't think it's dangerous. There was one question that was, it would be, do you believe it's concerning to have 1 or 2 drinks a night every night? And they were like, that's totally normal. I don't think that would cause any issues to your health. And I'm like, that is literally insane. Like to think that anyone could believe that. And they are kids, so they may not know, but still, that's something that was like, we need to definitely address this. Same with cannabis use was a big one of basically a lot of youth saying that it wasn't dangerous or they didn't believe that it was dangerous.
I was surprised that they said it's so available.
Yes, so that was the other thing, same with vaping too. Like there's a lot of different ways that kids will vape and get vapes. Even like we can tell the gas stations, grocery stores until we're blue in the face not to sell to kids, but there are so many different ways to get them. And if one person knows, it is a lot more prevalent than you would think. So that's kind of that's like our big focus areas that we get from the survey. And what we do is we plan all of our programming around that. So and please stop me and interrupt me if I'm not going in the direction that you want me to, like kind of talking about what I.
Yeah.
So what we do when we do our collaboration with the school is we do a talk. So we kind of go into the school around these areas and do some sort of presentation. So we've done within each advisory class, they will, everybody stays in their classroom and does a curriculum that we've developed, and they either watch a video and do an activity, or the teachers will do this activity, or we'll do this all school presentation that we've done a couple of times for a couple of different topics. So whenever we have one of those programs that happen in the school, we always provide resources to teachers. Sometimes we will come into the teacher meeting. Other times we always talk to administration, so everybody is on the same page. There's always resources that are made available to teachers, and if there's any discomfort or any questions, we're always there to answer any. And then we're always here whenever that we do have a program. In addition to this, either before or after, ideally it's before, but with scheduling and stuff, we also pair whatever activity or whatever topic we're talking about in the school, we do a community conversation in the community. So we do some sort of basically the same presentation, but for the parents. And we do that either virtually or in person, so that everybody's on the same page. So the students are hearing the same thing as the parents, which is the same thing as the teachers, so that everybody has the same verbiage, has the same idea of like what's going on. Because we don't necessarily want, a subject matter expert coming in talking to the kids and then the parents being like, oh no, that's not true. Or, well, I never knew anything about that. Well, there are opportunities for learning for everyone at every level. Next year, we want to do something a little bit different. And this is something that I wish Claudia was here, but she's sick, that she can speak more to. But something that we have also learned through working with the community and the students is that, stories hold a lot of weight, and I think we want to kind of push and do less of an academic learning about, learning why it's dangerous to vape. So instead of learning why it's dangerous to vape, we want to kind of branch out and do storytelling on a subject. So then we would have somebody who comes in and tells a story of why it was dangerous. Like, this is what their lived experience is with vaping, or whatever our focus area topic will be. This will also kind of feed into this idea of building empathy which is something that is really important. And especially like now, you know, in our communities in general, building, you know, greater empathy. So that, and then should I speak a little bit about school avoidance and truancy and stuff, or should I leave that for Claudia?
We have that on a later part of the agenda.
Oh, okay, then I'll stop for,
Is your video available for
yes.
online, or is it,
It is. So if you go into dmyfs.org/our approach or whatever, I think is what we named it. If you go on our website under our approach, you can it is open to the public. So everybody can watch the video of what our survey results are. We are one of our,
Could they have it on another media, like on the school? Like Parent Square or something, make it available?
To send it out, even if we send.
oh, to send it out to the parents. Yeah, that would be amazing. We are very transparent. That's one of our values. So if anyone has any questions, we're always open to conversation. We're always open to share whatever that we have. Because, you know, that's how stuff gets done. Parent Square, that would be great. I think that's something that I would definitely want, and I made it very clear in the beginning of the video, and something that I would like to, next time we do the survey, to talk closely with the school about is how can we get more people to answer the question? So a lot of, it was during advisory, but if kids either skipped advisory or were suspended or are truant or don't, you know, just didn't feel like whatever it was, they weren't counted. And that really kind of messes up the results because you're not getting the full sample. I think the 12th graders in particular was really low. It was like 60% of like 12th graders answered the questionnaire or something like, it was something like that, where I was like, this is very interesting. And I'm also curious of like, who are the people who are not answering these? Like, they're probably the ones that we really want the data on.
Yeah, talked about that. The 12th graders had, some of them had a field trip or some other on that day, and they didn't do the makeup. So, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because that's an anomaly and that's different, but I sometimes am more interested in the people who choose not to take it, or the kids who aren't in school enough to
More
take
senioritis,
it and
perhaps.
get to know.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think it should be more important for the parents to see it, because it's really
Yeah.
focused on how do you fix
The
this.
kids, yeah.
Did you notice, there were a couple of stats that I was looking at, and I was thinking, like, the bump, like the change from when, and using weed as an example, that when it went from, and probably the middle school, the younger kids were like, oh, yes, that is, no, we can't do that, to the high school. I'm curious, what did you dig into? I don't even know the actual grade, but like, are you going to be focusing on like, oh, this is where it really jumps? And so if it jumps between 8th and 9th, so we're really gonna focus on vaping with the 7th graders to.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard to talk about that because things are so different. So a lot of times, like each individual grade levels will have a lot of personality or characteristics, right? So there may be one grade level that it has more likely to have these risk factors. So something that we're seeing is that the kids that we did the survey, whatever, 4 years ago or whatever, how many years ago it was, I think it was the 2021, or around that time, those kids, when they were in 7th or 8th grade, like now they're in high school. So we can kind of see a lot of the kids who were talking about, like their depression scores and stuff. I want to say that they are the sophomores now. And anecdotally, I've heard a lot about the sophomore class, or the grade, or one of these other grades being really, like struggling with a lot of like mental health stuff.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting to kind of see, and as we, Claudia and I have been in our particular roles for about 1.5 years. Claudia has been with DMYFS for a lot longer, but in a different role. But it's now that we have seen the kids for a while now we can kind of track how they are doing over time. There is always going to be a big shift from middle school to high school. That's just normal. But at every single level, we want to be talking about our focus areas, because at every single level they are prevalent. So even though the middle schoolers are more like, no, drugs are bad, never do them, abstinence is the key. Like they think that that's what they, and of course they're going to think that because, you know,
There's a little.
they're little, right? And so there's still education that can be done. There's still prevention work that can be done. It might just look and sound a little bit different than when we're talking to older kids.
I was also really happy to hear you. I was starting to think of how I was going to say this, but shifting to storytelling
Yeah.
kind of a mode. There's this crazy stat out there, a study out there that with adults who find out who have a heart attack and they're given all the things that they have to do to save their lives, they don't do it.
Yeah.
They still go back to the original habits. And it's because that direct instruction and that direct, addressing or academic, as you call it, isn't as effective as hearing and seeing from people who are living it.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Just to connect with that too, one thing that the middle school is starting next year is Dave and Noelle are going to be starting a program with rising 6th graders called Narrative 4. I don't know if you've heard of Narrative 4, but it's all about storytelling and getting kids to communicate, to build relationships, and to create empathy through storytelling.
Yeah.
So next year will be the first year that they do it, but the idea is that that will become the norm of going into strong middle school. All the 6th graders will start with a Narrative 4 experience. So the way that we're doing, which will connect perfectly to your storytelling, and the way that we're doing it is that we're doing like training the teachers so that we'll have a team in-house trained so that we can just keep it sustainable.
Absolutely.
I wonder, and I'm not sure we have data, DARE has not been in the schools for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the numbers were different then in terms of how the kids looked at drugs, obviously in 6th grade, but then as that same group of students who had DARE, did they carry that over into the upper grades? I'd be curious if they have any of those statistics around.
Yeah, I think that DARE is not, there's not a whole lot of evidence behind the effectiveness of DARE, which is, I think, important to note, because I think a lot of people who, I know that I had DARE when I was in school, and so a lot of people have this idea of what, this idea of like drugs are bad, never do drugs. And there's a lot, and like we still want to portray that message honestly, but also have a little bit more nuance, because we know that there's a lot of shame around addiction and drug use, and there's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but definitely a portion of the students who have been touched by addiction at some point in their life, either sibling or parent or somebody, and the learning more about using more of a prevention lens, and more of a greater understanding of what are the harms of substances, and like what are some ways to keep yourself safe, like that sort of thing, is more evidence-based.
The DARE program
Is not.
was shown to be very ineffective. And I think what you're saying, and I'll always be blunt, I know. But so we have kids who may be saying weed isn't a big deal because their parents are smoking. And so you can't then say your parents are bad, your parents are this, your parents are that, because you're not saying that directly, but you're saying it indirectly. And so we have to be careful with that kind of.
Or a couple of glasses of wine or.
Right,
couple of
right,
drinks at
exactly. And that
dinner
right,
is the
probably
norm.
why the kids said, oh, 2 or 3 drinks a couple times a week, right? And,
And a lot more permissive.
That's it.
I mean, there's no way to gather data on this, but I would really love to see some way of collecting data on the moment they legalized it in Connecticut. To control the quality, make sure it's not gonna hurt people.
But it was only.
For me, it just seems like things have gone downhill ever since that happened. I notice it in the school I work in, and I feel funny every day. I'm like, oh, I better hold my breath. Not good. And the kids need to know it is not what it used to be. This stuff is so stupefying and strong to the point where, yes, they do say that it does affect your brain development. And and exactly. Everything's breaking down.
I
From
think that's
exactly
a-
what you said, the role models in people's lives, it's just.
I think it's a huge challenge for you to deal with alcohol and drugs. I mean, you really got to deal with the parent mostly,
Yeah.
but I think there's some pressure, school pressure to join in this stuff. And I don't know how you deal with it's the joining in that probably you can control more, can at least teach about here. But I think also the issues on bullying and depression and relationships are something more that the school can handle
Mhm.
a little bit more directly than alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, we can arrest kids and kick them out of school and stuff like that.
Send them to us
Yeah.
with our youth diversion program.
But, people, kids that are getting depressed and what, 2% tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, that's frightening, for, a high school kid or eighth grader, or whatever they were. But, it seems those are the things that I think school can really build on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We were actually just talking about it today. A couple of other ways that we've partnered with DMYFS. One is they were really instrumental in connecting us with an organization called Jane Doe No More. And they will be working with our 6 through 12 students connected directly to the curriculum.
Yeah.
Every Jane Doe No More.
Jane Doe, no more.
Yeah. And we mapped out the curriculum for anything related to healthy relationships, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and developmentally appropriate with the curriculum. They'll be coming in every year into health classes to be doing that. And then also they connected us with Dr. Valeda Wise, who's been working with the leadership team on really having a deeper understanding of bullying and harassment and discrimination. So both of those things I just want to again say, like, we have a really great partnership and we're really lucky to keep these things going. The future agenda item that we'll talk at our next and final meeting this year will be on the work that we're doing with DMYFS on attendance and tardy and truancy, because that is also a very concerning area right now.
Yeah.
You're more familiar with all this too. I mean, years ago, there used to be a lot of talk, not to be on the cannabis thing more, but it's just awful. There used to be a lot of talk about the stepping stone theory of just, okay, you start here and you progress to the next one. Not everybody, but is that still something that we might think is prevalent? Because that might scare people to say, oh, I could potentially end up in this part of the world, which is not happy or good. Is that talked about anymore?
Coming from an ER nurse and my husband is a firefighter, we are very blunt with our kids. And I think that the kids need more bluntness. This is gonna happen if you go down that road.
Yeah.
And my kids have said that the most impactful assemblies have been the storytelling.
Yeah. It's interesting. So my background before working at DMYFS, I was working in inpatient drug and alcohol treatment, and that's kind of where all of my experience was before I moved to Connecticut and before I started this job. And it's funny because when I first started working in treatment, there were nobody was there. Primary drug of choice being cannabis. Nobody. And then towards the end, when I stopped working in treatment, we had quite a number of people, adults. I worked with adults 18 and over, who came in for primary drug of choice being cannabis. And I remember thinking like, wow. And they were like, an 18, 19-year-old kid. And I'm like, well, they're technically an adult. I'm like, is this because the parents or whatever? And because I had always thought like, oh, like you can't be addicted to cannabis because like, you know, that was the narrative that everyone talks about. And like, that is absolutely not true. And like you were kind of saying, like, it is not what it was before. We have a graph. So we have these like beautifully designed by me, pull banners that have a bunch of, that we have it on a number of different topics, mainly our focus areas, and it has just a bunch of information. So whenever we come in and for a presentation on our focus areas, we do a lunch table and we have this banner. So even if they don't come and talk to us to get information, they have it and they can see it in the lunchroom. But our one for cannabis, there's a graph on it, and the title is not your parents' weed, and it shows the THC content for over time, and the THC content, you know, in the 60s was like nothing compared to today being like astronomical, because now, I mean, just synthetic, looking at the synthetic marijuana, looking at just the growing, whatever that biology thing is called, whatever, the evolution, the selection of higher content THC, it's just so different. And so I think a lot of times people are like, oh, well, like they have this idea of what marijuana and cannabis is, and they have this idea of like, oh, you can't be addicted to it, and it's not a gateway drug because it's just weed. But now it is very different, and the properties are very, very different. I think something that we don't see that much of yet, hopefully not ever, but is like the kratom as well. And that not being really understood, and also having like quite a big impact. You can just get it from the gas station or from a vape shop or whatever.
There's also a very new and incredibly real fear of what is laced in things.
So that
didn't exist before.
Yeah, so that was the other thing. And I can like talk about drugs and alcohol forever and ever and ever. So you really do need to stop me. But like the things being laced is like absolutely real. And overdoses are another one of our focus areas, because it can be in, you know, fentanyl or carfentanil or any of the other opioids are mixed in with everything. And especially like kids are not going to the pharmacy to get drugs, or they're not even going to a dispensary to get marijuana because they're under 21. So who knows where they're getting it from? So even if it is legal, it's definitely not legal for them. And whoever they get it from, you know, if they're selling marijuana to kids, they're probably not super reputable. And who knows if there is anything, you know, so that is so important to talk to kids about it, and they're, you know, and give all the information that's possible. And, you know, what we always say is like, you may not ever need this, and I really hope you never need this. And it's much better to have the information and not need it than need the information and not have it. So that's kind of a big that's like a big push. So even, you know, talking to parents, it's like, yeah, we know your kids are not doing drugs. No, your kids never, not your kids, but they might know somebody who is. And it's really important that they have this information, because your kid can be a hero and save a life. That's kind of how we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And we're gonna have to move on with our agenda,
Yes.
because those building people are coming in. But thank you very much. And apparently we'll be hearing will you be back as well, or just?
When we do attendance and truancy, either you or Claudia will be back. next
Yeah.
time.
Okay,
So
great.
focus on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is National Screen Free Week.
We talked about this at leadership team a little bit. This is National Screen Free Week. We were from my understanding, Region 13 hasn't done anything like massive or district-wide with this before. And if I'm wrong about that, forgive me, but that's kind of the message that I was getting. So this year, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna try and focus Screen Free Week on making everybody aware that there is a Screen Free Week. We're gonna have, you know, encourage reading books. I just got a book today. I'm very excited about, you know, encourage reading books. And trying to send home some lists of activities for parents to do with their kids. It's a great time to be outside and off of screens. But mostly, and at the same time, the the research is in, okay, screens are not good for kids in excess, and the younger they are, they're just not good. So really just trying to create more of an awareness with that. At the same time, we're kind of that week, we also want to create an awareness with staff. Not just their screen use for instruction, but also what if we did have a cyber attack and we were down, how would you do everything? So we talked actually about trying to shut everything down and do a simulation. We're not quite ready for that, it seems like, but this year will be the awareness year. How are you gonna take attendance? How are you gonna do a lunch count? How will kids eat? How will we figure out who's going on what bus home? How will we make calls? You know, all of those kind of things. So we're gonna just be awareness, and then I think next year you'll probably see more of a no screens. Unfortunately, it's SBAC testing time, right?
So we have to have screens.
We have to have, because we were like, well, maybe we do have a couple days. It's just not a
Yeah.
possibility. But I wanted to bring that to this committee, especially when you look at, again, the research on screens, younger kids especially, but then also a lot of the court cases and research that's come out about screens and social media for teens and the dangers that it's causing. It's something that I think we need to start with awareness and build on in the future.
We have a lot of classes outside that are taking.
I think we should encourage that, you know, like encourage everybody to go outside. I loved going outside in school.
They always ask.
Yes.
We're in class outside?
Yeah. Mhm.
I just found out that in several European countries, they don't use technology except for the teacher in the
Mhm.
classroom for K11.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about it yet.
Australia just banned all social media till after 16.
You know, maybe you could have a big class on surveying that week.
Yeah.
And lay it out.
Lots of ransoms around.
Love it. Well, they could figure out, they could do all their trigonometry and stuff, they could lay it out.
The other part of this is, we have a group of, our educators, our staff, it's a group of 5 who have been going to the ACES consortium this year on AI. So they're kind of our recon team. So they've been going and working with a lot of other districts on understanding AI policies, practices, best practices, and bringing back information. So I wanted to add on here that something you'll be hearing about is, one of their recommendations is that the district creates a digital wellness team. So it would be kind of like a subcommittee, I mean, not an official committee, but more of a subcommittee, but a team that's pre-K through transition with MTA. And they look at everything related to digital wellness, which could include AI, but it could also include things like screen-free time, social media influence, when learning through AI is a great thing, when it's not, all of that kind of stuff. So the board will be hearing a proposal at some point soon about creating a digital wellness team that's district-wide.
I saw a vendor at South by Southwest that the platform is not only does it time you out from a certain number of minutes or hours on your screen, but then you can get back in if you do mindfulness exercises, if you do whatever, and then you can kind of earn more screen time along the way doing breathing. And I was like, I like it. That was a neat tool. Awesome. Anything else on National Screen Free Week?
Not unless anybody has ideas or suggestions or questions.
So just to affirm, some of the mental health issues perhaps have something to do with screen time.
Yeah.
Just draw that connection, make sure, yeah, okay.
It's,
I believe that. The average
think
child
we
gets
know that
234 notifications in a day. It's hard to do anything on a routine basis when it's nonstop. No, stick to your routine. Get this done, get it done, get it done, get it done. Move on to the next day.
All right, behavior data.
So I want to start with an apology because I'm experimenting with how you're getting this data so that we can learn a little. This is our first year. I'm experimenting with that because I want to see the way that you like the data and what you don't like. We did that the first round. Hopefully this is better, but I'm hoping to get feedback for the next time. And then ideally we have a really consistent format that we look at data every time so that, you know, we're comparing apples to apples. I want to apologize because I am exploring AI myself. So I did this Chat GPT infographic And I didn't realize that under respect on there, it's giving the middle finger.
Yeah, so.
I did not catch that. It was pointed out to me just today. I realized AI picked up on the sentiment and the meaning, but
Were these
I
the
will,
attachments for the meeting somewhere in there?
Yeah,
didn't-
I will not do that again. I looked at all of the
Can I
text.
see that?
So look at that, that is the best example of why, good for you. I love it.
I mean, it picked up on what, but it's not something I would ever do, so I am apologizing about that, because I always review the text.
Yeah, right.
But I did not carefully look at all of the graphics.
That's good stuff right there.
So
Love it.
what you'll see is our current, it's our Linkit behavior data. We, want you to see it broken down by elementary, middle and high. You can see where certain trends are in each of these. What we did in addition to what we did last time was we put down the number of kids next to the number of incidents. So, if you see that there's 86 incidents of disrespect, it could be much, so hopefully that helps. And then I just want you to be able to ask questions or see if there's anything clarifications, and then to have you tell us what you might need next time in the data.
No, I thought the data looked,
Yeah.
it wasn't that much different than the fall, right?
It was a little different, yeah, so we separated out much more clearly by elementary, middle and high instead of going through all the grades. We still have all the different areas, and then we just did the different pie charts, like we separated out gender, we separated out, like we did a lot more detail, I think, this time.
Where you have like on a third, I guess that's the third page. You have a chart there, it says disrespect, and it says disrespect district. DIST, and then it has is that INA or LNA? I don't know what that means.
So it would be inappropriate language.
Oh, okay, and then would INS be inappropriate?
Insubordination.
Oh, insubordinate.
So that's something good. So we can put our, we
Yeah.
can put our legend in there of
Yeah.
everything that people can check in
Because I
there.
wasn't exactly sure what that was.
Yeah.
The way it's broken down, like for grades 6 to 8, 9 to 12, like 59 kids caused 184 incidences, or 41 kids caused 82 incidences. Is there any way to break it down further to then, like, so I know you touched on it earlier there, but like, I think it'd be really important to know if there's like a few heavy hitters that are the outliers that are causing it, because the data seems like, wow, there's a really lot of incidences. However, if 41 kids, only 40 kids had one incident, they just had a bad day, and one other person had 39. I think that's like really important to note, because then that's, really showing a trend that the overall behavior and, what you're looking for out of the students is actually really there.
Yeah.
It's not like each kid is like, doing 3 instances, like it could be, right? But like, I'm, statistically, I find that, it could be, but like, is it really like 2.4 kids, 2.4 incidences per kid?
I completely agree. I'm hesitant to do that because we're such a small district. And if I say 2 kids caused 80 incidents, everybody's gonna try and fish out who they are.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense.
And I think we had, and again, it's still,
So we want to protect identity at
Makes
the same
sense.
time.
Thank you.
But you're exactly right, that we do have heavy hitters. I'm sure that's a surprise to you. No, I'm kidding. But I'm worried about the FERPA aspect.
Understandable.
Hopefully, as restorative practices take hold a bit more, that could get
Yeah.
better. Because, as a child wanting to rebel, and if they know they have a target on their back, so to speak, it just gets worse usually. Like, oh, yeah, I'm the bad person. I know. Yeah, you keep telling me I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. And that doesn't go anywhere in most cases.
We also, I just want to say, we blatantly have a gender concern in the data. And we have to see if that's something that we're not doing for boys along the way developmentally, or if we are over responding or overreacting.
yeah, and that's what I was going to also mention, that this doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Because it could very well be that the same behaviors done by boys that are done by girls are seen as aberrant.
Yeah.
As opposed to with girls, it's seen as, oh, sweetie, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I did mention, and this is part of the overall work that'll probably take longer than a month. But, you know, my fear is always the definition of disrespect is so subjective.
Yeah.
And some teachers are going to consider something, throw them out of the room worthy, when another teacher would roll their eyes at somebody and say, calm down.
Yeah.
And so that always, you know, insubordination is such a dangerous term. So again, I just want to always bring it up, but it's gonna take a lot of work to get that alignment among all the teachers to have the same,
Calibration, yeah.
that's the word,
Yeah.
the same calibration for what is truly disrespect and what is disruptive. Like, yeah, you, doesn't have to be okay, but don't label as disrespect because it's so subjective.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
in line with what you're saying, my first thought was, how is disrespect being defined?
Mhm.
What exactly is included? And that would be insubordination, pretty much for all of them.
We are developing a glossary.
Okay.
So hopefully the glossary is there, but even with that, we have developed a glossary, I should say. We're just sort of in the final stages. But even with that, I think somebody's gonna look at that glossary and think different things.
Yeah.
And there's also the issue where you can have, like with absolutely the best intentions, teachers who report absolutely everything
Mhm.
because they feel they should, and then teachers who report nothing because they feel they should.
Right.
I was gonna actually ask about that. How are these numbers collected? Is it number of, and it might be over here, I just didn't see it, but is it, kids being sent to the office, basically?
So there's, that we try and have two different things. One is if a teacher deals with something, like they will document it, but
Right.
it doesn't go in here.
Okay,
So these are office referrals. This means that somebody notified the office that there was a significant incident. And
So-
it goes into a system that we use called Linkit.
okay, so, and this is not the same, so this is definitely, so this is not the same as there's something that happens in my class and then I pull the kid aside and like,
Mm.
okay, so I would be also curious to know, like, are the, just why are some not being sent to the office? And why some are staying with, like, being handled within the classroom? And then I also wonder, like, are the girls more likely to be dealt with in the classroom rather than being sent to the office? Like, maybe it's the same number of violations from girls and boys. And like, what also is there and this is, I'm like, I think this is also something, because I kind of wanted to also say, like, these heavy hitters that we're calling them, like, they can be sent to the diversion program. It doesn't have to be an arrestable offense. And we can do work with those students. But we need to, like,
I think you are.
get those. So then there you go. I'm not on the panel, so I don't know who any of the people are. But I do know that we don't have that many students, who are on the caseload.
Mhm.
Less than, you know, the number that are in here. So I'm sure that we could probably get more referrals, but my question is, like, is there like a policy or a procedure of, like, this thing happens and it doesn't matter who you are,
Mhm.
what gender you are, whatever, like, this is going to be recorded, or this is going to be sent to the office, or this person is going to be sent to diversion. And it doesn't really matter, like, how much they are, you know, how great of a kid they are, and like, or, you know, whatever, like, it, no matter what, they did this thing, like, this is what the procedure is.
Mhm.
Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but and it's just very, I don't wanna say dangerous, but I'll say it, to have that kind of A equals B.
I agree.
Right.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but then I also wonder, but then does that mean that the bad kids that we've all labeled the bad kids, we just kind of
Yes,
send them? And
Yes.
so you're right, absolutely. A equals B is not always the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But for this kid, A always tends to equal B, and this kid, A does not always equal B.
Right.
And that is that there's, like, that issue with equity there too.
Yeah.
And so I do, I guess I
No,
don't.
I agree. I think that the answer, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
And I just think that the answer is, in this case, is not to have this same process for everybody,
Mhm.
but to have keeping each individual kid in the middle of those decisions so that we take all of those things into account.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that, oh, and we don't have time, I could tell a great dress code story, but that if it's a one-off, it's a one-off. If the kid does the same thing over and over again, they need help, right?
Yeah.
Not punishment. And I think that that's part of what we want to make sure. And the A to B often is punitive as opposed to therapeutic.
Restorative.
Right.
I feel like we talk over you a lot, but you had something you wanted to say.
I just wanted to know what constitutes an incident being escalated, I think was.
We just have two levels defined. Basic is, kind of basic, but it's an office referral. And I'll give you those legends. And then escalated means that there's some kind that is potentially dangerous, harmful to self or others, could involve police
Okay.
kind of thing. Really like that higher level of violation.
I have a couple of questions and thoughts. With regard to the plagiarism, we were talking about AI before.
Mhm.
Is some of that related to students using AI and not knowing
Yes.
exactly how to use it and what it means?
Well, my understanding, I don't think any teachers really knowing that a kid didn't understand that AI was plagiarism is gonna do a lot. But once we explain to them and they learn what AI is and then they use it, that's plagiarism.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Another thing, which I thought was kind of interesting, and on the first page, grades K-1, physical aggression peaks in early grades. I found that very surprising because these are little children and they're either coming from home or they're coming from daycares and they're coming into school and they're aggressive with each other.
This means they don't know what to do with their hands and their
Right.
bodies
Yeah,
and
yeah.
their feet yet,
They're
Okay.
dysregulated,
Yeah, yeah.
and so they
Like,
don't
I'm
know
gonna
how
push
to
Bob in line
express.
because I want to get out to recess first.
Ah,
You
okay.
know, and they just don't know that maybe that's,
Yeah.
he'll hit me back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's usually no brass knuckles involved, but.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then that's a basic. And then if you go into escalated, you'll see fighting or assault,
Yeah.
something where there's intent behind it.
Okay.
Yeah. The one K1 is really, they don't know what to do with themselves. Yeah.
And then with regard to the substance abuses, and I'm talking more about drugs as opposed to alcohol.
Mhm.
I know it's a substance, but I was thinking more about drug use. You had 365 incidences. Anywhere in here, is that broken down by which of them are just drugs? Because by knowing how
It is,
prevalent
think
drug
it's broken down
issues
in high
are, then
school.
that gives a whole different look at, the climate and what's going on.
right, in high school.
There was one section there that had alcohol, but it had alcohol and,
In the same column.
It is two.
it said possession of tobacco products, alcohol, or weapons.
Yeah, that's two students. There were two
Right.
incidents.
So I was thinking about drugs in the school,
Mhm.
in the schools, and what level was that? Are we aware of it?
I would think the substance abuse is grossly underreported.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, any other?
Just based on.
And based on
Yeah, yeah,
stats.
yes, yeah. Okay, creation of a subcommittee.
Yeah. All right, I love creating surveys.
Excellent. So you're on it.
Nope, however, this committee, the district climate committee, is not allowed to create a survey for our regular, we had survey data last year. We used the state one, probably because it's free. But according to the laws, we are required to use a research-based and vetted-approved survey. So when I say we need a subcommittee, you're not actually going to be creating a survey. We need to make a subcommittee of at least 3 people from this committee. It can be more, to go through the research-based surveys that are approved and to pick one for Region 13.
Nice. Who would like to volunteer? What's that, Dr. Darcy? You'll do it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think Linda Darcy is gonna be on it. She's really excited about it too.
I'll volunteer.
All right, we got it. Ms. Darcy. Do I hear? Yes, I knew you would. And Bob Moore, thank you for our Just in case our minute taker didn't hear, it will be Bob Moore, Linda Darcy, and Jen Keen.
All right, and I'll send you the survey links for review, you know,
Yep.
the ones that.
And a deadline for me to do it by, or else it
Yes.
won't happen.
Okay.
Just saying. All right, thank you very much. Is that it for that one?
We have one more.
Excellent. All right.
Number
the-
8.
Number 8, review draft of school climate handbook.
So
Hello.
that's the 10-minute warning for the building
Oh, how
meeting.
funny.
So this is good. We're on.
Yeah.
time.
Can I ask us, sorry, I know we moved on, but with the survey, the school district, can I have DMYFS be, but I don't know if it's gonna be me or Claudia
Oh, on the.
Yeah.
Yes.
on the subcommittee,
Of
but I
course.
just don't know
Yep,
if
so we'll just put
DMYFS,
Mhm.
I always
Yeah.
forget the.
Buddy or Jade?
Claudia or me, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay,
I wanted to say, but I'm like, oh, I don't want it to be like, cause she might want it.
yeah.
Do you do your survey every other year?
Yes, we really wanna do it every year.
Because I was thinking if we did every other year, you could do
Then-
yours one year and then
and
we
then
do.
I think
whatever
that's
we choose.
normally what happens, but last year, because we didn't do it, we had to do it at the same time.
Mhm.
But that would be kind of nice to have it every other year.
And then it's not stale, you know, like
Yeah.
if we ask kids to do two, or parents to do 2 surveys every year, I
Yeah.
think it'll, you know,
Mhm.
it'll be a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so I sent everybody a draft of our school climate handbook for your feedback. And as you know, this is the year that we're building the plane while we're flying it based on the new climate laws. So I did receive a few comments back with some minor changes, some language changes and some questions that I need to research, but I wanted to put it out to this committee to see what your thoughts are on this. And at some point, when we're finished with it and we believe it's in good shape, it will go to the board for approval.
I mean, I reviewed it, I think twice now. I'm not sure what additional. I didn't review all the appendixes, but I'm not sure that it needs much change.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's supposed to be like a handbook, but everything to guide us through our work and to guide each school in the district as a whole, like to make sure that we are doing the requirements. I know that when we were putting it together, we were really trying to emphasize the proactive. Looking at what we're doing with restorative justice, thinking about what we can do throughout tier 1 instruction. As opposed to having a reactive document.
The handbook is before the teachers.
It's basically for the district, so it's just something that should be universal to all kids, staff, parents, community members, everybody.
So how would we just have it on our website?
Yeah. Mhm.
Would it get read?
I would hope so, but what I would assume is that people will read portions of it when they need to read specific sections.
That seemed to me to be a teacher, I mean, most of that in there is responsibility of the person in the classroom to deal with it, this situation one way or another. That each teacher ought to have a sign off that they read it.
I was gonna say, I think
And
the
a paper
teachers are the
copy,
ones who
yeah.
definitely will read it. I think it's more parents
Spread it. out a little.
that
It was
would
real
read it
busy.
when they need it.
Yeah,
Like spread it out a little bit and make a laminated flip chart.
yeah. I mean, the format
I've used
could
those
be
before.
adjusted, so it's.
Comes in
easier to
real
read.
handy because you know which section to go to.
Yeah,
You know what I like that, again, I'm experimenting with AI. If I put this document, when it's finished into Google Notebook LM, it'll make
Yeah.
a quiz. So it'll do like a quiz that staff can go through to make sure they.
They also make a
understand.
podcast so
Yeah,
that people
I
can
know, I
listen
said
to
that.
it instead of, yeah.
it also asked me if I wanted to summarize it, I didn't want to summarize it yet. But, I mean, it seems to me that, like what you're saying, you gotta have the sections of, oh, this kid's yelling at me, what do I do now? And you have your kids yelling at you section and, but it
But it
seems
needs to
like
be
the
acceptable
format.
too.
Mhm.
You know, it can't just be like, oh, here's your copy in your mailbox and it goes like in your drawer.
Yeah.
You know, like other schools and you use like your emergency thing, like
Yeah.
protocols, right? Different color on different pages, it's laminated, it's a flip book, and you could like get right to it and it could be sitting right there for easy access, especially if you have a substitute or something,
I
right?
can tell you.
You know, once you read through it 2 or 3 times, you know it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what you need. And it's probably, as a classroom teacher, You're only gonna need that for something major.
Right, I'm glad you said that, because that's I think that the real bottom line for a lot of this, and actually the big theme here is everything we've talked about here, the anecdote to it is connection, right? And whether it's kids connecting to each other or connecting to adults or connecting to someone in the community. And so to realize that hierarchy of consequences or responses is really for the big ticket items. Like most of the other stuff is dealt with one-on-one and, seek first to make sure this isn't a misunderstanding. Is this a teaching moment first? Because 96% of the time it is. I just made up that stat. But like most of the time, it's a teaching moment, not a punitive moment. Any other comments? If you, have a middle of the night thought, email Sydney, she'll love that.
You wanna bring it to the board and.
When you-
Meeting,
Yeah,
Like if you want to email me, your thoughts, we can do that, or I'll, we can sit down and have coffee. We can go over any questions that you might have. And then I can bring it to the board, or we can do that process, bring it again back to the meeting with probably an accompanying accessible version.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
like
then bring
it.
it to
I have nothing, everything, I like everything in it. It's
Yeah.
just like thinking of someone that would be using it,
Yeah.
right? Just something that's like, that's more just a formatting thing, right? Something vibrant, something that you're like, oh, you're just scaling right to the big stuff, because everything else is like the little helpful cards on, like mindful ways to talk to someone,
Right.
right?
yeah.
The
Like I
effective
have my
stance.
mindful things like sitting there on my desk, so I make sure that I'm speaking mindfully.
Yeah.
And but then for those big emergency issues, like maybe you need something. I don't know. I've been doing it a long time, but dude, someone might need something and you want to be able to find it, access it, and be able to access it appropriately at the appropriate time.
The other work that we need to do is, and this is a summer job, is we need to align this with all of our handbooks, and we need to align our handbooks, elementary, middle, and high school. So that's a summer project for the leadership team. We talked about that today. Everybody was really excited about it.
Nothing like wordsmithing.
I think you might need some students to help you with that, like summer, to get summer job for some kids to do that work.
AI. Yeah.
Community service.
All right, look, number 9, public comment.
I think we have people.
No,
online.
anyone online?
I think we do have people. online.
Yay!
If you have public comment online, just raise your hand and let us know. Seeing none.
All right, at 4:58, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, ooh.
And a second?
I'll
Favor.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Boom.
Can I just write down one more time to do the motion to adjourn in a second?
I made the motion.
You did. Yeah, I'll second it. Okay.
Nice.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.